Hello and welcome to the word of the day. Once again, it's a huge lot, but if watched serially, this can definitely make a sense of meaningful interpretation of the entire lot of presentation indeed. I am recording this particular series nearly at the time of midnight, so there is a huge tendency to catch up the immediately next word so that a certain kind of regularity and fluency can be maintained in terms of covering the proper number of the words within a day. We will be starting from the 15th of April. As you know, we have covered up to 14th of April in our last sitting. And the first one from Merriam-Webster, here it comes, mayhem, which means a deliberate act of violence causing potential harm to somebody. From its earliest origin through the Anglo-French root, this word actually meant the willful injury done to someone, and from that particular sense of the detrimental rendering of our action, now it has come to a specification where the sense of harmfulness, the deliberate and exciting activity based harmfulness, is rendered through the word. Its earliest sense, the word brazen used to mean something that is made out of brass. So definitely we can anticipate that no question of the original involvement of the metal gold could have been found out in the presentation of this word. Now in the modern sense, brazen, that is the second suggestion from the Merriam-Webster, means someone who is acting or something which is done without any sense of shock or embarrassment. We eventually get this particular word in Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry, in a particular sense of the projection, where Sidney goes on to say that the world as reflected in poetry is a golden one, whereas without that tinge, the entire realistic world remained brazen. So that is definitely a sense of the lack of originality is conveyed through the word. However, coming to our third suggestion, postulate, which means to suggest something in a formal way. It is a word that is mostly rooted in the academic world, and definitely the formality of the word can be adequately sensed when we look back the earlier usage of this particular vocabulary in several academic contexts, given that certain point of time in history. The word hiatus, which is our third suggestion, in fact, from 18th of April, is having multiple connotation. Anatomically, it refers to a gap between two organs, and if we talk about the linguistic usage of the word hiatus, then it particularly essentializes the gap of the accentuation between the pronunciation of the two vowels. However, if seen from the literary context, if we just look back our acquaintance of the word through several literary texts, one text I can vividly recall right now, that is the famous Irish novelist James Joyce Araby, where we can find out that particular character, the young boy who is completely besotted by Mangan's sister, and in order to present something beautiful to his lady of the heart, he goes to the fair of Araby, and over there he finds nothing. So literally, taking the cue of the meaning as a gap between something, the word hiatus can be definitely rendered as the difference between the expectation and reality. The suggestion of 19th of April, Sunday, suggests the word nugatory. Now what does it mean? Especially in the world of law, nugatory means something that renders the least effect, virtually which has a very ignoble effect, an act which does not literally consist of any serious effect to render upon something or someone. That is the sense of the word nugatory. Since this is one of those words which has a very little existence in the fluent usage of English vocabulary, its meaning also traveled quite a long distance from having quite a different connotation to another one. Initially, if we just look back the etymology, it meant something trivial or frivolous, something that is not having much importance at all. Now from that particular sense of the meaning, it has now come down to the meaning of trivial consequences or very meager result. Now, as I was just suggesting, I'm recording in the midnight. We have just received from Merriam-Webster, there is a beautiful suggestion as the word of the day, and the word is indoctrinate, which means to teach someone regarding something with fully accepted or full-fledged theoretical ideas or observation. Though initially, when this particular word turned out to be incorporated in the English vocabulary back in the 17th century, this used to mean simply to teach. But in most of the modern contexts today, indoctrinate suggests to brainwash someone. And you can understand that very well. There is always a proper agenda behind this specific act of rendering. The respective suggestions from dictionary.com, the first one, fait accompli, from 15th of April suggests it's actually a Latin term, of course, Latin phrase, quite so often used in our daily usage of English when we just go on to say about any accomplished fact. Uh, Taking the cue of this, when we come to the next one, from dictionary.com is coterminous. That means having the same area or the same border. Praxis means something that is a distinguished practice. It is definitely the suggestion from 17th of April, the third suggestion of our coverage from dictionary.com today in this particular sitting. Fourth suggestion, ramshackle, means something that is loosely held together or loosely tied together. It may be just anything, ranging from any organic object to a set of rules applied for an institution or organization. The next one from the dictionary.com is purlieu, which means the neighborhood. The last but not the least from the dictionary.com, there is farce. That means to pass time with idleness. Thank you so much. See you soon in the next update. Stay tuned.